Welcome to Ray-ality TV. I'm Ray Bakari. Today I'm joined by Cranston Ward 5 City Councilman Chris Paplauskas, who is the Republican candidate for Rhode Island House District 15 in this year's election cycle. The district is located in Cranston, and it's an open race because the current state rep, Barbara Ann Fenton Fung, opted out of seeking re-election and instead ran for mayor in that Republican primary. Councilman Paplauskas is also term limited from his seat on the city council. Chris, it's great to have you on.
Ray, thanks for having me on. I'm a huge fan. I've been watching your career from your Rhode Island college days up. As someone that watches the media and has been involved for the last 10 years in government, I'm just super proud of the position that you have now at WPRI and keep reaching for the stars, man. You're doing good work. So happy to be here with you this morning, bright and early on this day. So happy to be here.
Thank you, sir, and I appreciate you giving me your time for this. My first question is, why do you want to be the next state representative for District 15?
Oh, it's a great question. Well, first of all, I think District 15 is a phenomenal district in the rep districts that are drawn out because it's just Cranston. I've had that ability and the privilege and the honor to serve on the city council for the last 10 years. 2 years of that as council president. I love waking up every day and making a positive impact in the community that I live in, that my family's here, my kids are in Cranston Public Schools. And running for this seat gives me that opportunity to continue to help the city I love. I try to do something positive every single day. It can be as simple as going for a walk and picking up trash to getting somebody's trash can fixed, filling a pothole, or connecting somebody with, someone that's trying to get a business license with the proper department, or working hand in hand with my colleagues to make our city a better place. So I really feel that running for this state rep seat will continue to provide that opportunity to have a voice, to help the public, and to be big on customer service. Ray, when I got involved 10 years ago, I just wanted to be that guy that you could call. I get back to you or answer the phone, and everybody's got my cell number, and just try to help you out. Sometimes there's a lot of red tape in things, or you don't know who to talk to if you're trying to get something accomplished. And I just want to continue to be that guy, big on customer service and help the city. So the passion still burns, Ray.
Similar to those city council races that you ran over these past 10 or so years, a large part of this type of race for a state rep seat is knocking on the doors and hearing what's on the minds of constituents. What are you hearing at the doors?
Yeah, so, basically two things. One is we need to fix Meshanticut State Park. Meshanticut State Park is in the district. It's a hidden gem in Cranston. It's a park that I've had the opportunity to host Earth Day cleanups at and work really hard to try to keep the park looking nice. But as my position on the council, I can't do a lot of work to fix the park. It's a state park. So I'm hoping that this new position will give me the opportunity to work with DEM, DOT, maybe get the walking path paved, cut those dead trees. There's an invasive lotus that's overtaken the pond right now, and really clean that up. So I hear Meshanticut Park a lot because it's used daily by walkers. People go fishing, and it's a great recreational spot that's in the district. And another thing I hear going door to door is it's getting harder to make ends meet. Going to the supermarket, buying groceries, the dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. And it's been a challenge for hardworking Rhode Islanders to put food on the table. That's another thing that I'm hearing at the doors. You get the occasional, what's going on with the George Washington Bridge? We need to fix a state road in the district. But a lot of it is Meshanticut Park and, making ends meet, which is tough.
And we're definitely going to talk about the George Washington Bridge later on, and this will that'll definitely be a topic. I do want to stick with Meshanticut Park, though. I didn't have that originally written down, but I remember you talked about that in your announcement when you said you were going to run for this seat. Talk a little more about that specific issue and how you foresee your role as a legislator. I know you mentioned DEM. Is it a funding type of thing?
Yeah, I think we need to direct more resources to the park. I know the state did a survey of the land that's around it within the last couple of years, but there is a walking path / road. It's kind of closed off half of it. It used to be years and years ago. You used to be able to drive around the whole park. Now it's kind of mostly walking, but there is a little bit where there are homes where you can drive on. That all needs to be refinished. It's not city property; it's state property. We have some stormwater runoff issues that are there. There's some erosion taking place. There's that invasive lotus. There are no trash cans in the park. I know, DEM does their best to try to maintain it, but I think they're short-staffed. and I don't think they have the resources they need. So, I kind of want to put Meshanticut Park back on the radar. I think it's forgotten in some ways because it's tucked away down a hill near Cranston West High School and kind of out of sight, out of mind. But the people that live in the district and live in Cranston use it frequently and daily. I mean, you can go down there right now. It's packed with people walking the park. So we need to fix it. It's our environment's important, open space is important. And if we can fix that for generations to enjoy, it'll be a plus for the district and for the city.
Also, another key issue you highlighted in your announcement for your candidacy for the seat, aside from Meshanticut Park, was making it more competitive for the business climate when compared to neighboring states in this region, and just overall helping businesses. How would that kind of goal look legislatively? Are we talking maybe more direct assistance, reducing regulations?
Yeah, I think we got to do a couple of two-prong approach or three-prong approach. Something we've done in Cranston is we have that Office of Economic Development to really cut the red tape. And I was chairman of the Safety Services and Licensing Committee for 4 years out of the 10 that I've been on the City Council. And that office is important. And I'd like to try to work something out where we have that office in the state maybe, or help cut the red tape. And it happens even today. You'll have somebody come in for a business license. I'm still on that committee, and they're waiting from something from the state, whether it's a tax clearance letter, whether it's a health inspection, to get that restaurant open. And sometimes they're backed up 30, 40 days, 60 days that we're hearing on our side, and we can't issue the license until that's taken care of. So if I can try to cut the red tape or be that go-between to connect somebody, in the right direction that's trying to open a business to get something done, that's kind of where I want to focus on that end. And we've done a good job of that here in Cranston with connecting people with the right departments. Our economic development department will hold somebody's hand through the whole process to make sure they get what they need, at least from the city side. I'd like to see if we can do that on the state side. And another thing is, and it's kind of controversial with some people, is I like to look at the state income tax, what we charge when you buy something. I think we need to be a little more competitive with that, with our New England partners, our states, neighboring states. I think if we can lower that, we'll actually bring in more tax revenue, create more jobs, and be more competitive across the board in the region. So that's something I'd like to look at as well.
Oh, so reduce the sales tax.
Sales tax, yes, that's what I meant.
Gotcha. Do you have like a specific number in mind? I know some folks say 5, some say 6.5. I think the governor proposed it was like 6.8 in that budget.
I like the 5 number. 5 is my lucky number. I've represented Ward 5 for the last 10 years. So I like 5, but obviously that everything is compromise and negotiable. But that's something I would like to look at with my colleagues. And obviously you got to run numbers, you got to talk to the budget office, and there's a lot that goes into it. You just can't arbitrarily pick a number, but I'd like to take a look at that as well.
Now, speaking of the Washington Bridge, because we can't do this and talk about statewide issues without talking about that. For those watching and who may not know, this bridge, the westbound portion, it's crucial to get to the East Bay, specifically like East Providence and the whole eastern side of the state almost. It closed in December 2023. A junior engineer saw structural failure, and your legislative Republicans have been very critical about the handling of this issue, whether it's transparency or even just accountability in general for those in charge. How do you feel about the handling of this bridge's closure?
Well, my heart breaks for everybody that has to travel across it every single day. I a couple times a week, I do have to go across it as well. It has gotten better. I think people are getting used to the lane changes. I remember the day when we all got the alert on the phone that they were closing the bridge, and I think everybody was shocked. My main concern would be to make sure that this never happens again, and that all the other structures in the state are safe. Because if it happens one place, we don't know if it's happening at another place as well. So I know the DOT is working on that. I've been following along at the news stories. I think we need to get to the bottom of what happened, how it happened, and move forward. It's unfortunate we're in the position that we're in. It's not like Baltimore where that was an accident and they have to replace that bridge quickly. But this has been a long time coming. Those problems don't seem to just happen overnight. So we can't neglect our infrastructure. We need to make sure we're moving forward and fixing it. But I just don't want to see this ever happen again.
So more investments in infrastructure to prevent another.
Yeah, and I think preventative maintenance and staying on top of things. I don't think we can punt problems down the road and hopefully, we can fix it in the next quarter, to use a football term, because that's why we're at where we're at. So at least in my mind.
And other Republicans in the state, while criticizing the approach in terms of transparency, accountability, and obviously calling for this to never happen again, they've also used this issue to try to call for a change. And what I mean by that is having an office of an inspector general. For those watching, the pitch is that this would be an independent office that looks for waste, fraud, and abuse in government. And the Republicans, particularly those in the GA, have cited how this type of inspector general could have looked at this bridge's failure and called it out years ago because it's a belief that this has been a problem for years and that it was known for years. Do you favor having an IG's office?
Yeah, I do. I do. I think another set of eyes looking over what's going on can't hurt. So I would be in support of that and work with my colleagues for that.
And before we move on from Washington Bridge, this is actually more recent. One Republican state rep, Bob Catroci, I think he represents part of Cranston in his district. He called for RIDOT Director Peter Alviti to be fired from his position because of mismanagement regarding the bridge maintenance. It's a bit of a controversial topic. You know, so some folks maybe don't have a direct stance on it, but I'm curious, where do you stand on Director Alviti's future with RIDOT after?
Yeah, I haven't heard Rep. Catroci's comments on Director Alviti, but I firmly don't believe that this problem started with Director Alviti. I think it started a long time before. So if we're going to fix the problems and move forward, listen, everybody's got a tough job. I'm not going to sit here on my dining room table and call for Director Alviti's resignation. You know, I know, you know, it's not easy. You have a big department to run. You got a lot of work to be done. That bridge didn't fail overnight, so to say. It was a preventative maintenance issue, and I think we need to make sure this never happens again and get to the bottom of it. And if I'm elected, I'm going to work with my colleagues to get to the bottom of it for sure.
I also want to talk about the state's budget a little bit because if you're elected, the biggest vote that you're going to have each General Assembly session is the state's budget. That's always the biggest bill that's voted on. It's currently sitting at $14 billion with a B. And now this upcoming session, it's really going to be a bit of tightening the belt because there's no more federal COVID money. There's a projected deficit. And the Washington Bridge rebuild is going to be a serious amount of money that's going to have to come from the state budget, despite the federal money that we're getting from the delegation. I know you don't have the numbers in front of you, but going in, are there any items on your mind that are looking at as if we're going to have to make cuts, maybe this area, or things that are absolutely must stays no matter what?
No, there's nothing specific that I can pull off the top of my head that I would think about cutting. I do know that for the last 10 years on the city council, we've worked really hard to manage our budgets, and every one of those budgets comes with tough choices. So I have a decade of experience making those votes and making those tough calls. Whenever you make a cut, you know, there are consequences, whether it's services, it affects people's lives. That stuff I take very, very seriously, and is not something that I'm going to, you know, just, okay, we got to cut and let's cut. You know, I'm going to look at every single thing and see what the cause and effect is on that cut if we're making cuts. You know, we've done a good job in Cranston balancing the budget like a family's checkbook, you know, your household checkbook, and that's kind of what I'm going to bring to the state house. And also, you know, coming from that city side, I'm always going to be thinking about what the cities and towns needs along the way. And I know when we've cut in the past, the state has cut aid to cities and towns. It really hurts the cities and towns, and that's not something that I would be looking to do. Because, you know, we have great cities and towns in our states, and the state funding helps the communities balance their checkbook. So it's going to be a lot of tough choices coming up. I mean, I read the article, $400 million deficit coming up. It's not going to be easy, but I'm up to the task to working hard to figure out solutions.
Speaking of the aid to cities and towns, I believe you also did highlight one in your announcement to get Cranston more aid. I believe you also touched upon the funding formula a little bit. How do you feel about the current aid that the city of Cranston's getting?
Yeah, I think it can always be more. I think the city of Cranston's overburdened with the Pastore complex. You know, I think we should get more pilot money. We have a lot of safety services. I talk about my time on the safety services committee. We have a lot of rescue and police runs to the Pastore complex with the ACI being there, and Harrington Hall and the state offices. So I would like to see an increase in pilot money. It is a burden to have it in our city. So I'm pretty cut and dry on that. But I've been saying we need more pilot money for 10 years.
And just to clarify, pilot the payment in lieu of taxes?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify that because that's one of those terms that I think aside from Cranston, the only other city that I mean, well, Smithfield for a bit with Bryant, but Providence has a big deal with that too, with the colleges like Brown and PC. So
Right.
been all over that one. So I do have a couple of political questions for a moment before we move on toward the end of this. This one, we're in an era of what I like to call factionalization within the Republican Party. You are running as a Republican. You have the more like pro-Trump crowd that folks like to say, and then you have your I guess more moderate Republicans like your Mitt Romneys and George Bushes. And I know a Cranston Republican is different than a national Republican. So I'm just going to ask you, what kind of Republican do you see yourself as?
I'm a moderate Republican. I grew up watching Ronald Reagan, and you mentioned George Bush. As a kid growing up, man, Reagan made you feel proud and great to be American. There was a ton of patriotism, running through the country, and that's the kind of Republican I am. I'm proud to be the first Republican elected to the Fifth Ward in Cranston in 74 years. It wasn't an easy task. I had to knock on doors and keep walking the ward and meet as many people as I can. But I'm a moderate. I think people know me, and the way I've governed the last 10 years on the city council and the 2 years as president, if it's a Republican idea, a Democrat idea, an independent idea, if it's a good idea for the city, let's just do it. That's just how I've always been. So I would label myself as a moderate. I'm fiscally conservative. But yeah, I'm a moderate Republican for sure.
Speaking of Republicans, this might be looking a little bit ahead. So, in the event that you do get elected, because the current Republican representative for this seat doesn't really like caucus with the Republicans, and I'll elaborate a little bit. So, they typically all share an office. I believe it's on the first floor of the State House, if I remember correctly. She didn't, citing like a relationship between the chief of staff and like her husband, former Mayor Alan Fung, had. But I just want to know if you're elected because two of them don't caucus right now out of the nine. Are you going to caucus with the fellow Republicans?
Yeah, I can't speak to anybody else or anybody's past
Right.
why or they did or didn't, but I've always caucused with my Republicans. I was the majority leader as a Republicans when we were in the majority on the council before I was president. I look forward to caucusing with my colleagues and working with them and sharing ideas and picking their brain and leaning on their experience that they've had up at the State House too over the last however many years each one of them have served. So yeah, I plan to work with both sides. I'm not just gonna talk with my Republican colleagues, but I've reached across the aisle many times over the years to get things done and keep progress moving forward. So I look forward to working with everybody, but I will absolutely be caucusing with my colleagues on the Republican side.
And my last political one, and then we'll go to a non-political for the final question. You're currently running against Maria Bucci. She's the Democratic nominee for the seat. She ran for mayor in 2020, lost that race to Ken Hopkins, and she was a city councilor several years ago. What would you say differentiates you both as candidates or even in terms of policy?
I don't really want to speak to differentiating. Well, I can, but I would say it's a great question. I would say the difference is I've shown up every single day for the last 10 years working hard for Cranston. I love doing it. I just don't show up when it's time to run for office. Every day I work hard for the city I love. I think that's the biggest difference in the campaign. And I'm hoping that the residents of District 15 recognize the fact that I've been there every single day, and I plan on continuing to work hard every single day if they bless me with the opportunity to continue to work hard for them.
My final question is now on the non-political side. As you've probably seen watching prior episodes of this show, I like to ask this at the end to keep the tradition going. In your opinion, what do you think Rhode Island is best known for?
Wow, that's a great question. And I have seen you ask this question before. And I don't know if anybody's ever said this, but I'm gonna pick a quirky one. I'm gonna say Rhode Island's best known for low number plates.
That's the first time I've heard that, so that is a first, and that's a really good one. That's the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, I mean, people come to Rhode Island and from other states, and they're blown away by the fact that we obsess over low number plates. And yeah, so I'm gonna go with low number plates. I'm not gonna pick calamari or restaurants. I'm gonna go with low number plates.
That's a really good one. I appreciate the creativity on that. That's absolutely true. I'd be driving and then you see, oh, that's a 3-digit plate. That's a 4-digit plate. That's
Yep.
absolutely true.
Yep.
Chris, that's all the questions I had. I really appreciate you giving me your time for this, and thank you for coming on the show.
No, I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for doing this early in the morning. I know this is recorded, but it's early. It's just everybody who's watching. So appreciate you being up, Ray, and keep up the good work at WPRI. I'm proud of you, man.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, sir. And thank you
Thank
for
you.
watching this episode of Ray-ality TV. If you want to see future episodes as soon as they're posted on this channel, please click the subscribe button down below and the post notification bell icon to the right of it. I'm Ray Bakari. I'll see you next time.